Cheddar, a young squirrel with a bushy tail, scurried through the forest floor, his tiny paws rustling the leaves beneath him.
The air was crisp, filled with the scent of fallen leaves and the promise of the changing seasons. The forest was alive with the colors of autumn, a tapestry of reds, oranges, and yellows. He gathered acorns, plump and round, preparing for the coming winter. Each acorn was a small victory, a step towards survival in the cold months ahead. Each acorn was carefully selected, a treasure to be stored away. Cheddar knew that every choice mattered, and he took his time to find the best ones.
One acorn, shining gold in the dappled sunlight, caught his eye. It was unlike any he had ever seen before, glowing with a magical light.
Cheddar had never seen an acorn so beautiful. It seemed to hold a special power, a promise of something extraordinary. He carefully tucked it away in his cheek pouch, a prize among prizes. This golden acorn was more than just food. It was a symbol of hope and wonder. He looked up, following the branches of the oak tree that had gifted him this treasure. The tree stood tall and proud, its branches reaching towards the sky. High above, nestled between the leaves, was a bird's nest. It was a place of safety and warmth, a home in the vast forest. Cheddar had often seen a wise old bird perched on the edge, its feathers the color of the evening sky. The bird watched over the forest, a guardian of the secrets and stories held within the trees.
The bird's name was Sage, and he was known throughout the forest for his wisdom. His feathers were a soft, muted brown, blending seamlessly with the bark of the oak tree he called home.
Animals would often come to him, seeking his advice on matters big and small. From the tiniest ant to the largest deer, all respected Sage's counsel. Sage would listen patiently, his head cocked to one side, before offering his guidance in a gentle voice. His words were always thoughtful, never rushed, and filled with a wisdom that seemed to come from the very heart of the forest. Cheddar, a young squirrel, had never spoken to Sage, but he had often watched him from afar, admiring his calm demeanor and insightful words. Cheddar dreamed of one day being brave enough to approach Sage and ask for his advice.
Sage had lived in the oak tree for as long as anyone could remember. The tree was ancient, its branches wide and strong, providing a perfect home for the wise bird. The tree provided him with shelter and a bountiful supply of food. Acorns, insects, and the occasional berry were always within reach. He was content in his little corner of the forest, watching the seasons change and the animals go about their lives. Each day brought new sights and sounds, and Sage took it all in with a serene sense of peace.
But on this particular day, something felt different. A sense of unease settled over Sage. The air was thick with tension, and the usual chatter of the forest seemed muted. Sage's feathers ruffled as he tried to understand the source of this new feeling. The wind, which had been a gentle breeze, began to pick up, rustling the leaves and sending shivers down Cheddar's spine. The sky, once a clear blue, darkened with ominous clouds. The air grew heavy with moisture, and the scent of rain filled the air.
Cheddar knew what was coming, a storm fierce and unforgiving.
He hurried his pace, gathering as many acorns as he could carry. He needed to reach the safety of his hollow before the storm broke. But as he turned to leave, he heard a sharp crack from above. He looked up and saw with a jolt of fear that the wind had grown stronger, tearing at Sage's nest. The nest, once sturdy and secure, swayed precariously on the branch. Sage clung desperately to its edge, his wings buffeted by the wind. He had weathered many storms in his lifetime, but this one felt different, more powerful, more threatening.
Fear, cold and sharp, gripped his heart.
He saw Cheddar looking up at him, his eyes wide with concern. Cheddar, small and insignificant as he was, seemed to be the only one who noticed his plight. The other animals were too busy seeking their own shelter from the storm. But Cheddar didn't run. He stood there, his small body trembling, but his gaze unwavering.
Cheddar knew he had to do something. He couldn't leave Sage to the mercy of the storm. He had to help, even though the thought of facing the wind and the rain filled him with terror.
He took a deep breath, steeling his nerves, and began to climb. He scurried up the trunk of the oak tree, his claws digging into the rough bark. The wind tore at him, trying to rip him from his hold. Rain lashed against him, blurring his vision.
But Cheddar climbed on, fueled by a courage he didn't know he possessed. He had to reach Sage, no matter the cost. Don't worry, I'm here to help. Together, we can get through this. Up and up he climbed, the wind howling like a wild beast, the rain turning the world into a blur. Each step was a struggle, each movement a test of his resolve. The branches of the oak tree swayed violently, threatening to throw him off. The storm was relentless, showing no mercy, but Cheddar held on tight, his small body tense with effort. Every muscle in his body screamed, but he couldn't give up now. He could see Sage's nest just above him, hanging precariously from a branch that looked close to snapping. The sight filled him with a renewed sense of urgency.
He reached the branch and clung to it, his heart pounding in his chest. The sound of his heartbeat was almost louder than the storm. The wind threatened to tear him away, but he held fast. He knew that letting go was not an option. He looked up at Sage, who was huddled in his nest, his eyes wide with fear. The poor bird was trembling, clearly terrified. Cheddar had never been so scared in his life, but he forced a reassuring smile. He had to be brave, for both their sakes. "Hold on, Sage," he whispered. "I'm almost there." Carefully, Cheddar inched his way along the branch towards Sage's nest. The branch creaked ominously under their combined weight, but it held. Cheddar reached the edge of the nest and looked inside. Sage was shivering, his feathers ruffled and damp. Cheddar knew he couldn't stay in the nest. It was too dangerous. He had to get Sage to safety.
Come on, we have to get out of this tree.
Sage hesitated for a moment. Then, with a grateful look at Cheddar, he hopped onto the edge of the nest. Cheddar led the way, inching along the branch, back towards the safety of the trunk. Finally, they reached the trunk and began their descent. The wind and rain were still fierce, but Cheddar no longer felt afraid. He had faced his fear and overcome it. He had saved Sage's life. He reached the ground, exhausted but exhilarated, with Sage safely tucked under his belly. As if sensing their victory, the storm began to subside. The wind died down, the rain slowed to a drizzle, and the clouds parted, revealing a sliver of blue sky. Cheddar and Sage looked at each other, a new bond of friendship forged between them. Cheddar, the small squirrel who had been afraid of the storm, had shown incredible courage and saved the life of Sage, the wise old bird. Sage, who had always relied on his wisdom, had learned a valuable lesson about the importance of friendship and the unexpected places where courage can be found. As the sun broke through the clouds, bathing the forest in a warm glow, Cheddar and Sage knew that their friendship would last a lifetime. They had faced their fears together, and in doing so, they had discovered a strength and a bond that went far beyond the boundaries of their different species.